who are really excited about all the possibilities that Ask potentially brings to the table. So now, to dive deeper into the technical magic behind Ask David, I'll turn it over to Zheng, who will walk you through the nuts and bolts of how we're making our vision a reality. And she might even like to read out what Ask David stands for, because I promise you, I didn't name this after myself. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So Ask David is a domain-specific QA agent. So let's start with terminology analysis. First of all, we have decades of structured data. Those are the backbones of many up-and-running production systems. Prior to the introduction of the agent, users have access to the same data, but they have to navigate through different systems and manually segregate the information. An agent can introduce efficiency and integrated user experience. Next, we have unstructured data. As a bank, we manage a vast amount of documentations, including emails, meeting notes, presentations. With the rise of virtual meetings, we also have increasing amount of video and audio recordings. How do we make full use of that information? The advancement of LLM really bringing tremendous opportunity in this area. Lastly, as a research team, we have proprietary models and analytics, which are designed to really derive insights and visualization to help decision making. Previously, it would require a human expert to conduct this kind of analysis and offering white glove service. With the help of the agent, we can scale the insight generation and we can make our service available to more of our clients. Now imagine being a financial advisor in a client meeting and your client suddenly bring up the phone and ask you, why is terminated? Believe me, it's actually a very loaded question. So in the past, you would reach out to our investment research team, talk with real David, and then you figure out what's the status change history of the fund and what's the reason behind it, what's the research about this fund, what are similar funds, how do I curate these answers specific for this fund, and you will come up with that presentation yourself, manually. With the help of an agent, we can get access to the same data, analytics, insights, and visualization right in our meeting. Enable the real-time decision-making. That is our vision of Ask David, and you probably guessed it. David stands for Data, Analytics, Visualization, Insights, and Decision-Making System. So this is our approach to build Ask David, which is a multi-agent system. Starting from our supervisor agent, which acts as our orchestrator, it talks with our end user, understand their intention, and try to delegate the task to one or more of sub-agents in the team. The supervisor agent have access to both short-term and long-term libraries so that it can customize the user experience. It also knows when to involve human in the loop to ensure the highest level of accuracy and also reliability. Next, we have our structured data agent. It will translate the natural language into either SQL queries or API calls, and it will use large language model to summarize the data on top. Unstructured data is a little bit different from structured data. Usually, it requires some kind of pre-process. But as long as you save it, vectorize it, put it into a database, we can employ a large agent on top to effectively derive information. Lastly, we have the analytics agent. We talked about our proprietary model and APIs. They are usually in the format of APIs or programming libraries. For a simple query that can be directly answered by API calls, we'll use a React agent and use APIs as tools. But for more complex queries, we'll use text-to-code generation capabilities and use human supervision for the execution. This graph is our end-to-end workflow. It's starting with the planning node. And you probably noticed there are two subclasses over here. One is a general QA flow. So for any questions, for any general questions, for example, how do I invest in gold, it will go to the left-hand side subgraph. And if the question is regarding specific funds, it will go to the right-hand side flow. Each of the flow, as you can see, equipped with one supervisor agent and a team of specialized agents. Once we retrieve the answer, you probably notice there's one node to personalize the answer and another node to do the reflection check. I will explain it in detail in an example to follow. The whole flow ends with summarization. So now back to our planned question. Why was this fund terminated? This is how our agent can handle it. So as you can see on the right-hand side, the agent answer was the fund was terminated due to a performance issue. And you can actually click into the reference link to see more about the fund performance and the reason behind it. What really happened behind the thing? From that planning node, we start to understand this user inquiry is related to a specific fund, so it goes through the specific fund flow. And in the supervisor agent inside will be able to extract the fund information as a context and understand that actually the doc search agent is the right one to solve the problem. Once doc search agent get that information, it starts to trigger the tools underneath to get the data from MongoDB. Once we retrieve that information, the data and information will be personalized. The same information can be presented in different ways, depends on who is asking. For example, we are talking about the fund termination reason over here. A due diligence specialist may demand a very detailed answer. While advisor maybe just need a general answer. So this personalization node will tailor the answer based on the user roles. Next, we have the reflection node. It uses LangChain to make sure that the answer we generated makes sense. If it doesn't, what do? We try again. So the last one, the whole flow ends with summarization. In the summarization node, we do several things. We summarize the conversation, we update the memory, and we return the final answer. So it was quite a journey working on this multi-agent application, and we are very excited to share the lesson learned. Number one, start simple and reflect often. I know I showed you a fairly complex diagram earlier, but we didn't really focus on building that diagram from day one. So day one, if you can see, is a plain vanilla React agent. We try to understand how it works, and from there, we need to work on the specialized agent on the picture two, which actually is a RAG agent, if you can see. We start to customize the flow. But once we get very comfortable with the performance of the specialized agent, we start to integrate that into our multi-agent flow in picture 3 with supervisor. And in the picture 4, that's our current stats. We actually have the subgraphs generated for specific kind of intentions. Right now we only have 2 intentions, but we can scale easily with this architecture. So I talked about fast iterations, but how do we know every iteration we're moving towards the right direction? The answer is evaluation-driven development. So everyone knows that compared to the traditional AI projects, Gen AI projects actually has a shorter development phase, but we do have a long evaluation phase, right? So our suggestion is to start early, think about the metrics, what kind of goals you want to achieve. Right, as we are in the financial industry, obviously accuracy is one of the most important things. And the continuous evaluation helps you get that confidence you're improving day by day. So there are additional tips I have over here based on our own experience of evaluation. As you can see on the screen, right, so the dark blue bars over here are coming from the metrics of evaluation on our main flow. And the green one is actually one example of our sub-agent. So my tip number 1 is make sure you independently evaluate your sub-agents. But the key for your evaluation is to find places to improve, right? These help you figure out what's the weak link to improve your accuracy. Second point is depends on how you design your agents. Make sure you pick the right metrics. So if you have a summarization, you may want to check whether your summarization is concise or not. So conciseness is one of the metrics you want to pick. If you are doing a true call, maybe you can have the trajectory evaluation instead. So there is a common myth. I think, especially if you're a developer, you talk about TDD. I think a lot of people say that I just don't do that. It's a lot of work, right? But it's not the same in the evaluation. You actually can start evaluation with or without ground truth, it doesn't matter. There are so many metrics beyond just accuracy, and each one of them will provide you some insight. And you know what? Once you start doing evaluation, you will have review. Once you start doing review, you actually going to accumulate more of the ground truth examples. Lastly, we have large language model itself as judge in combination with human review. These automatic solutions really help us scale without adding too much burdens to our human speed to review large amount of AI-generated answers. Talking about SME, our last lesson learned over here is about human SME in the loop. When you apply a general model to a specific domain, usually you will get less than 50% of accuracy. So, but you can do a quick improvements like chopping strategies. You can change your searching algos, and then you can actually make prompt engineering. That can get you to that 80% mark. From 80 to 90, we are using the workflow chains. We are creating the subgraph so that we can fine-tune certain kind of questions without impacting each other. Between 90% and 100%, that's what we call the last mile. And the last mile is always hardest mile. In terms of GenAI applications, it may not be achievable to get that 100% mark, right? So what do we do? So human SME in the loop is very important to us because we have $1 billion at stake, and we cannot afford inaccuracy. In other words, Ask David still consults with real David whenever needed. In conclusion, 3 takeaways for you. Iterate fast, evaluate early, keep human SME in the loop. Thank you so much.